Hey guys, what is up? Welcome back. Today we're going to be doing a video all about foundations, all the foundations in my collection. We're going to be ranking every single one of them from best to least favorite. I don't want to say worst because I feel like that's a harsh term, but we're going to go from favorite to least favorite and why. I did do one of these with my concealers, like every concealer that I've ever had. I'll have that linked if you want to check that out after you check out this video, but we're going to go ahead and dive right in. So if that is something you are interested in seeing, let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so I don't know yet if I want to do least favorite to favorite, just because I feel like the anticipation is better when I go from least favorite to favorite, and that's kind of what I want to give for this video. So I think I am going to start with my least used, least favorite foundations. The first one is this Beauty Blender foundation. What is this called? This is the Bounce Liquid Whip Longwear foundation. I have mine in the shade 3.45. There is nothing inherently bad about this foundation. It is a great shade. It is a great formula. I just found that with my oily skin, so just for reference, I have very oily skin, textured skin, I have dark circles, I have big pores, I have bags, I got it all. When I used this foundation, I found that it really settled into my fine lines around my mouth and up on my forehead. So that's why I stopped using it. It was my favorite for a while because the shade is fantastic for me, and I'm pretty sure there's a decent amount of shades for this foundation. I just fell out of love with it. I don't really like it anymore. I don't like the way it makes my bags look because it would really accentuate my bags that were underneath my eyes. I'm not a fan. You know, I really, this is not my favorite in my collection. I don't have the heart to throw it out yet, but I know that I have to because it doesn't really do it for me anymore. The next one is a new foundation that I want to preface by saying I've only used this like 3 times. Putting it so low on my list is kind of mean, but the 3 times that I've used it, I don't love the way that it looks on my skin. It's the Makeup Revolution IRL Filter Longwear foundation. It's a soft matte foundation. It's oil free. It's supposed to do really good things for oily skin. For me, it just didn't do it. It again accentuated a lot of my fine lines around my mouth and on my forehead, and it just made my texture look that much worse. And I don't know if it's because when I tried it out, I was going through it with my face. I had a lot of breakouts. I had a pretty bad rash, so I'm gonna have to try this again, but as of right now, it's falling pretty low on my list of foundations just because I don't love it. I also think that I have to get another shade of this. I think it's too light for me. I think I got the wrong shade, so I'm gonna have to try this out a little bit more, but so far not so good. It's definitely not matte. I know that it says soft matte, but it's definitely not matte. It's definitely one that I had to set, which I don't love doing. I like a foundation that will just set for me because adding another layer on my face really makes me look all the more textured and cakey. So that was another reason that I didn't like it. This is what I actually have on my face right now, and the coverage is pretty good, but it's not where I want it to be. I'm a full coverage kind of gal, and I need full coverage and I need matte. And this kind of only does like 50% of either of those things. It's not at a full 100%, you know what I mean? The price point on this foundation is not one that you can really beat. It's very inexpensive, so I don't hold it, like I don't hold everything that's wrong with it against it because it is a very inexpensive foundation. However, I do have other drugstore foundations that are better than this one that I think would be worth your money over this one. The next one I have is not a foundation per se, it's a skin tint. It is the Fenty Beauty Eaze Drops Blurring Skin Tint. I like this, I don't love it. I think it's just because I have a problem with skin tints. I don't like them. I am an oil slick, and I have not found one yet that can like really combat that. This does a pretty good job, but I get oily very quickly, so that's why it's not my favorite. It's not my least favorite, but it's not my favorite. The shade range is pretty good for these Eaze drops, and the shade that I have here is really great. In the summer, I will use this from time to time if I need just like some coverage. It does cover a lot, you know, for a skin tint, it covers a lot. It's just not where I need it to be when it comes to like how matte it gets, and I know it's a skin tint, so I shouldn't be expecting a lot, but I don't know, I don't love it. I have to set it quite a lot throughout the day, which is whatever, you know. It's just not my favorite. Really doesn't accentuate anything on my skin. It's just, I'm too oily for this. The next one I have is this Hard Candy Glamoflauge Full Coverage Foundation. This is really good. I just have others that are better. This is like middle of the road in between my favorite and least favorite foundations. This is a very good middle of the road foundation. It's full coverage, it's matte, and it's inexpensive. You can't really get better than that. I mean, I do have better than that just because I know what I like, but if you're just starting out with makeup and you want a full coverage foundation that's going to really help with your oily skin, this is definitely one you should check out. The reason it's not higher on my list is because the shade range is kind of garbage. I also have the hardest time finding this in store, and ordering it online is a pain in the ass because none of the shades look like they do. You really have to go in store and see what they look like and buy the one that works for you. This is hard to get your hands on. That's why it's not higher up on my list, and the shade range is not good. I will use it from time to time because it's a fantastic formula and it's very full coverage, which is what I like, but it's just not there for me. If it's very inaccessible and it's very limited with the shade range, I'm not gonna say that it's the best because it's not gonna be the best for everyone. The next one that I have, I actually did a whole video on because it used to be like my holy grail foundation, so I'll have that linked up here if you want to check out a more in-depth like demo on it. But it is the Estée Lauder Double Wear Stay in Place foundation. This is so good. It's so good, but it's not where I am in my makeup journey anymore, if that makes sense. I used to love this because it truly doesn't transfer. It's matte and it's very full coverage. It's still what I love, but there are others that I love the way that they look more on my skin. So this is a favorite of mine, but it's not my absolute favorite. I have this in the shade 3W1 and it's really good. The thing that I hate about it is that there's no effing pump on this, which I don't understand. I mean, I do understand why they do it, because then once you buy this you gotta spend more money to like actually get the product out the way you want to get it out. So that's why it's like not really my favorite. It's very expensive. This is a super expensive foundation and it's not everyone's cup of tea. Some people really don't like how matte this is. For me, that's what I love about it, but for some people it's just not what they're looking for. It can sometimes make your skin look a little bit two-dimensional because it's so matte. It doesn't photograph beautifully like some of the others that I'm going to mention, but if you're going for a night out, this is the perfect foundation. This will stay in place all night. Even if you're a sweaty girl like me, it's not going to be oily, it's not going to come off. Like, you can wear a mask over this and it's not going to transfer. This is a great foundation, but it's not where I am anymore. Do you know what I mean? It's not it for me anymore. I have others that I love. Okay, so we are now entering like my top 3 favorite foundations. I feel like this isn't going to be surprising if you watch a lot of my other videos because I use these all the time. The other ones that I mentioned, I sporadically will throw in, but I'm a creature of habits and I know what I love, and these 3 I use frequently. They're like my favorite foundations. So the first one I'm going to talk about is like my 3rd favorite because I'm still going from like least to most favorite. So this one is the Armani Luminous Silk Foundation. This is so good. This is such a good foundation. What I love about this is you can buy a mini size because it is very expensive, but you can buy a mini size of this, which this is the mini size. It still is a pretty penny, but you can at least try it out and see if it's worth buying the full bottle. I love this because even though it says luminous silk, it's not a luminous foundation. If you're oily like me, it's not going to make you more oily. It's not going to make you break out. It's not going to accentuate any texture. Like, this really is your skin, but better. It looks really great in natural lighting as well as studio lights. It's very thin, so it doesn't feel too heavy on the face, which this one too, this Estée Lauder, is very thin. It doesn't feel too heavy, but there's something about this one that's just, it's very natural looking while also being full coverage. I know that's kind of like an oxymoron, but it feels like you're not wearing any makeup and it looks like you're not wearing any makeup. This has a pretty good shade range. I also just looked up, it's gone up in price. It's like almost like a $70 foundation, which is, oh my god, I can't believe that it's that expensive. Definitely try the mini version out. It's worth it if you get the mini version. You can use a brush or a sponge with this, you know, you don't have to switch up your tools that you use. It has a friggin' pump, unlike the other one. It's very good and it's very nice on my skin. And if it's nice on my skin, it's gonna be good on your skin. And the thing is, I'm pretty sure even if you're dry, this looks good on you. Like, this is a very universally good foundation. It doesn't really matter what skin type you have, which makes it all the more accessible and all the more better. All right, coming in second place is the Covergirl Outlast Extreme Wear 3-in-1 foundation. This, it should be more money, but it's not. I have heard this be compared to a lot of NARS foundations. I'm not a big fan of NARS because they always break me out. This never breaks me out. It's so good. This makes my skin look so smooth. It gives me a whole new face. The great thing about this too is that you don't have to buy a separate primer for this. This is a 3-in-1, so it has a concealer, foundation, and primer in it. I always do concealer on top of it or underneath it just because I need a little bit of brightness, but this doesn't settle into any fine lines. I don't really know if it lasts 24 hours. I've never worn it 24 hours. The thing that you might want to be wary about for this foundation is that it does contain SPF, so there might be a little bit of flashback if you're planning on wearing this to like an event, a wedding, or something that there's going to be flash photography. Just keep that in mind. I haven't tried it out with a flash, so I don't really know, but just, you know, keep that in mind. This is so fantastic. It, again, has a pump. I've had this for quite some time, and I have not like run out of it yet. You don't need a lot, probably like 2 pumps for your entire face, which I guess is a lot, but for me, I've had foundations where I've needed quite a bit to build up the coverage that I want. This is just chef's kiss. You can't do any better than this at the drugstore. You just can't. It doesn't oxidize like some foundations do. Maybelline has really great foundations, but for me, whenever I put them on, after quite a few minutes, they start to oxidize and look a little bit orange. This stays true to shade. It's not gonna get wonky on you. It's not gonna get orange. It's not gonna look like it's a different color. Like I said, it doesn't settle into fine lines. It is a matte foundation. I think I do set this one, which is whatever for me, but it's worth it at that point because the way that it makes my skin look, there's nothing else here that makes my skin look the way that this foundation makes my skin look. I highly, highly recommend this. My all-time favorite foundation. Let me know in the comments if you guessed what it was before I showed you guys, because I'd love to know. If like you've seen my other videos, you can guess what it is. My all-time favorite foundation that I will never not recommend to people is the Dior Backstage Face and Body Foundation. This was crafted by the gods, this foundation. Whenever I wear this, I get so many compliments on my skin, which never happens because I have terrible skin. But whenever I wear this, I get so many compliments. Whenever I put this on, like in a tutorial or a video and I'm editing, I look at myself and I'm like, I look so good. Like there is something in this foundation. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's a little bit of fairy dust, a little bit of magic, but there's something in here that makes me look so good in person and on like video too. Like in all forms of like media, it makes me look really good. It doesn't accentuate anything. It's super full coverage, but it is so thin. You can build it up to whatever coverage you want. I recommend using a brush with this. I don't think that a sponge works really well with this because it's so thin. I think you can even use your fingers for this. You don't need a lot to cover up whatever you need to cover up. Like I said, I have very oily skin. This does not accentuate the oils at all. Whatever primer I use underneath this foundation, it's gonna agree with it. Whatever concealer I use with this foundation, it's gonna agree with it. It's not gonna move if I apply more products on top of it. It's just, there's nothing like this out there except this. Like the Armani Luminous Silk is a pretty close second, but this one, I don't know, it feels like air on top of your skin. It really feels like you're not wearing anything, and it's so stunning. It lasts all night. It doesn't go patchy. I also feel like, again, this is one that's good for dry, combo, and oily skin. No matter what skin type, I feel like this is going to be good for you because it is so thin and like liquidy. If you are thinking about purchasing this, go and purchase it. If you are thinking about purchasing a high-end foundation, get this one. If you're thinking about branching out and trying something new, try this foundation. I cannot recommend it enough. Everyone that I've spoken to that's tried this out has also told me that they love it. Dior knows what they're doing when it came to this foundation. I have mine in the shade 3N. I also have a second one of these in the shade 0N, and I mix them together for whatever shade of self-tan I have on my body at the current time. This is just a very good foundation. It works well with everything that I put on my face. It works well with me. It works well with my oils, with my skin, with my texture. Nothing is accentuated, and I just love it. Alright, you guys, I think that is it for my definitive ranking of all of my foundations. I love doing these kinds of videos because it can show you guys, if you have the same kind of skin as me, what really works well and what doesn't, so that you don't have to spend your money and kind of be disappointed by a foundation. If you are oily and if you have texture, definitely check out my top 3 foundations. I also just like to lay out all my foundations and see what has been working for me and what hasn't, because it helps me to like declutter and kind of stay away from specific brands or specific foundations. If you did enjoy this video, don't forget to give it a like. If you have not, make sure that you are subscribed to my channel and that you hit the little bell so that you are always notified when I upload a new video. Let me know down below what your favorite foundation is. I would love to check it out. I'm on the hunt for more foundations. I feel like I need to start including more new ones into my tutorials because I always use the same top 3. So you guys let me know what your favorite is and I'll be sure to check it out. But I think that is it for today's video, you guys. I hope that you all enjoyed and I will see you all in my next one.